You are a bookkeeper, not for a corporation, not for a law firm, for a restaurant group in Naples that owns 11 locations and has never once in 7 years of your employment turned a profit on paper. You know why. You have always known why. You process the numbers they give you, you make the columns agree, and you do not ask questions. This is the arrangement. It pays 3 times what legitimate bookkeeping pays, and you have a daughter in a private school and a mother in a care facility, and so you process the numbers, and you do not ask questions. Now, Marco is dead, and his sons know the money moved, and they do not know where it went, and you are the only person alive who does. Sal, the older son, calls you into the office on the second day. He does not accuse you. He is too careful for that. He asks you, in the tone of someone who already knows the answer, whether you noticed anything unusual in the accounts before his father's death. You tell him no. You say it the way you have learned to say everything. Then Marco Esposito, the man who built the restaurant group and the infrastructure beneath it, dies of a heart attack on a Tuesday morning. No warning, no succession plan communicated to you. Within 6 hours, his 2 sons are in the office, and they are not grieving. They are looking for something. By the end of the day, you understand what it is. Their father moved a significant sum in the weeks before his death, not through the restaurant accounts, through something else, something you were not supposed to see, but did, because Marco trusted your discretion more than his own sons and used your reconciliation access to route a transfer he needed processed quietly. 41 million euros. You saw the destination, you confirmed the receipt, you closed the file and said nothing, because that was the arrangement. In this world, which is flatly, without elaboration, without the defensive over-explanation that signals a lie, he watches you for a long moment, and then he thanks you and lets you leave. But one of his men follows you to your car, and another is parked outside the school where your daughter studies art on Thursday afternoons. You understand the message. You also understand something Sal does not, which is that his father did not move 41 million euros carelessly. Marco was deliberate in everything. The routing, the timing, the fact that he used your access specifically rather than his own financial officers, all of it was intentional. He wanted a record that only you could read and only you would know how to find. This was not an accident. You were chosen. You just did not know it until now. The question you sit with for 72 hours is not whether to tell Sal. That question answers itself. You tell Sal, you become unnecessary. In this world, unnecessary people do not retire. The question is what Marco intended for the money and whether honoring that intention is worth the position it places you in. You pull the file, not from the office system, from a personal record you have kept for 7 years, because you are a good bookkeeper, and good bookkeepers document everything. The destination account routes through 2 foundations and lands in a structure you recognize as the kind used to hold assets for a specific purpose over a long horizon. This is not hidden wealth, this is protected wealth. Marco moved it out of reach before he died because he knew someone would come for it. He moved it somewhere that requires your cooperation to access. He left you the lock and the key simultaneously. He also left you in the most dangerous position of your life. You make a decision. You do not confront Sal, you do not run. Running confirms everything and puts your daughter in the equation in a way you cannot control. Instead, you go to work. You behave like a bookkeeper who knows nothing, which is a performance you have been rehearsing for 7 years without knowing it was preparation. You process the numbers, you make the columns agree, and in the margins of your ordinary days, you begin to understand what Marco built and why. Because the structure around that money is not just a hiding place, it is an instruction. There is a lawyer in Rome whose name appears in foundation documents you have cross-referenced across 3 different filing systems. You contact him through a method that leaves no digital record. He knows your name. He was expecting contact. Not this soon, he says, but he was expecting it. Marco told him that if anything happened, the bookkeeper would eventually find the threat. He tells you that the 41 million is not Marco's money. It belongs to 11 families whose legitimate assets were seized in a government action 4 years ago and who trusted Marco to hold a recovered portion outside the reach of both the state and Marco's own organization. Marco's sons are not entitled to it. The lawyer tells you that your job, the job Marco designed for you without your knowledge, is to ensure it reaches the people it belongs to without being intercepted. You sit with this for a long time. You are a bookkeeper from Naples with a daughter in private school and a mother in a care facility. You are not equipped for this. You are also, as you are beginning to understand, the only person positioned to do it. And there is something else. Among the 11 families is a name you recognize, A woman whose husband was one of the men whose accounts you processed for 7 years. A man who died in circumstances that were explained as an accident and you never believed were an accident. You did not know her wife was one of the people Marco was protecting. You do not fully understand what this means yet, but it changes the weight of the decision. You tell the lawyer you need 30 days. He tells you Sal Esposito will not give you 30 days. You tell him you are not asking Sal. You begin to move. Not the money, not yet. Yourself. Small relocations. Your daughter's schedule altered without explanation. Your mother's facility contacted with a change of emergency information. You create distance between the people you can afford to lose and the situation you cannot afford to walk away from. Then you start building the transfer sequence, account by account, jurisdiction by jurisdiction, the way you have built every reconciliation of your career, methodically, without leaving evidence that points backward. Sal calls you on day 9. He is less careful this time. He tells you that he knows his father trusted you with something, and loyalty to a dead man is a sentiment he has no patience for. You tell him you do not know what he means. The silence on the line is longer than it should be, and in that silence you understand that your 30 days just became significantly fewer. You work faster. You sleep less. You make no mistakes. Because in this structure, a single mistake does not cost you the account, it costs you everything. 12 days in, with 3 transfer sequences completed and 8 remaining, you find an error in the original routing. Not yours, Marco's, a deliberate misdirection built into the architecture, one final layer of protection that means the money cannot fully consolidate without a decision only you can make. Marco trusted you to find the thread, but to judge when pulling it was right. You sit with the incomplete structure and the weight of 11 families and a dead man's confidence in you, and you make the call. You are still making it.